Hello everyone and welcome to our fireside chat on early careers, a topic that's becoming more and more important every year in today's talent market. I am Alex. I'm joined today by Kelly. Today we'll talk about why early careers programs are no longer just a nice to have, what's changing in the market, and what really makes these programs work in practice. Everything we'll share today is based on real experience, what we see working, what doesn't, and where organizations are still learning.
Thanks, Alex. I think this is a really great conversation to be having. And with the early career market so competitive right now, we know how we attract, retain, and develop this talent is absolutely critical.
Definitely. So let's dive right into it. Kelly, let's start with the big question. Why do you think early careers programs are now considered essential rather than a nice to have?
To be honest, Alex, I think for me, companies are starting to realise now that it's early talent who really does set the tone for the future workforce. And, we're seeing skill shortages everywhere and particularly, more prevalent in key areas. And in a market that is so highly competitive, if you're not investing in early career programs, you're not just missing out on potential hires, but you're missing the opportunity to build skills, to build loyalty, but also innovation from the ground up. But on that note, Alex, I know that you've done a lot in this space. What do you think is perhaps the biggest misconception leaders have today around early career programs?
Well, that's a great question because it happens more than you would think. In my eyes, the biggest misconception is that early careers is still treated as a short-term recruitment strategy. Many leaders focus mainly on numbers, how many graduates, interns, or apprentices they hire, and how quickly junior roles are getting filled. That's understandable, but that's only part of the picture.
I think you're right, Alex. Early career programs, they're not just about hiring, it's the development, the engagement, but as we said earlier on, that future capability.
Well, definitely, and this is often the first real relationship people have with an employer. If that experience is clear, supportive, or well-structured, early talent is much more likely to stay, grow, and take on greater responsibilities with time. Ultimately, when programs are designed strategically, you are not just filling entry-level roles, you are building the foundation of your future workforce.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And it's certainly such a hot topic right now. So let's talk trends. From your perspective, what are some of the key themes that are shaping early career programs right now?
There's a lot happening right now. And a few themes really stand out. First, and probably the biggest, is the combination of AI and skills. AI is starting to shape every part of early careers programs, from how companies attract talent to how they assess skills and even how they support learning and development. But the real shift goes beyond the technology itself.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you mean, Alex. And, it's not just about using AI, it's about preparing early talent to be able to work alongside it and leverage it and really get the best out of it, I think.
Definitely, and that means placing much more focus on skills like critical thinking, adaptability, and the ability to learn quickly, because the technical landscape will continue to evolve whatever happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to AI, Alex, which we know is everywhere right now across early career, but also experienced hire, is there anything else that's standing out for you at the moment?
There are, I think, a few topics that do stand out. I would focus on two. First, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Early careers programs are often the first entry point into corporate life. If inclusion isn't built into assessment and development from the start, there is a real risk of creating uneven opportunities, especially as tools like AI can sometimes reinforce bias if not used carefully. I would definitely talk about candidate experience. We are in a very candidate-led market. Early talent is informed, connected, and has high expectations. A process that is slow, unclear, or overly complex doesn't just lose candidate. It negatively impacts your employer branding quite quickly. And with all this in mind, Kelly, how do you see organizations balancing them while still delivering a strong and human early careers experience?
Yeah, it's a really good point, Alex, and it's a challenge, without a doubt. And I think for me, it's integration, aligning skills, DEI, but also candidate experience directly with the business needs, as opposed to perhaps treating those as separate initiatives. And you said it yourself just there, early career talent is so vocal and they want to feel connected. So those continuous feedback loops are critical, but it's a challenge without a doubt. And I'm keen to know, Alex, in your view, outside of those key themes that we just talked about there, what do you think is the biggest challenge organizations face today when running their early career program?
I think that two challenges really stand out for me. The first one is the pace of change. We've mentioned it before, but AI is a big part of that. Business needs, technology, and candidate expectations are evolving extremely quickly, and AI is accelerating all of this. What worked even a year ago may already feel outdated today, but beyond the technology itself, AI is also changing behaviors. How candidates search, apply, and prepare, and how companies assess and engage talent.
So I think, Alex, from what you're saying, the real challenge isn't just in adopting AI, but it's keeping early career programs relevant, I guess, in an environment that's constantly shifting.
Indeed, programs that are too fixed or too slow to adapt will struggle. The most effective ones are designed to be flexible, with regular reviews and strong feedback loops for both participants and the business. And when it comes to the second challenge, I would say competition for talent, which is also being amplified by AI, obviously. It's now easier than ever for candidates to explore opportunities and apply at scale. With AI tools, applications are faster, more targeted, and sometimes more polished than before. That means organizations are not just competing on roles anymore. They are competing on clarity, speed, and overall experience.
Yeah, that I hear you, Alex. And it's something that we see often. And I think, if a program isn't clearly positioned and engaging, it's the strong candidates who become lost very quickly and quite often before we even realize it.
But there are also organizations that do get it right. Knowing this and with all your experience, Kelly, where do you see the biggest opportunities?
I think, Alex, when this is done well, the organizations that go on to succeed in this space, the organizations that go on to build future leaders, drive innovation, and also I don't think this part gets talked about enough, but it's organizations who understand that they're building really strong brand ambassadors. And I don't think you can underestimate, how much of a positive impact a well-run and very well thought out early careers program has across not only within early careers, but across the entire business as a whole. And just on building upon that, Alex, as we're talking about that, if you could give one piece of advice to companies who might be designing an early career program today, what might that be?
That can sound simple, but think long term. Early careers programs shouldn't just respond to today's hiring needs. They should support where the organization wants to be in the future. That means investing in development, mentoring, and meaningful work, not just placing people into junior roles. Yeah. And when it comes to measuring success, hiring numbers matter. That's true, but they are not enough. Engagement, skill development, progression, and retention give a much clearer picture of a real impact.
I couldn't agree more. Alex, thank you for the conversation today. I think to summarize, it's clear that early career programs are no longer optional, that's for sure. And I think without a doubt, they are now a strategic investment, not only in future skills, in leadership, but also in culture as well. And I think when designed thoughtfully, as we talked about earlier, they can create real value, not just for the individuals who join those organizations, but for the organizations as a whole.
Thanks everyone for listening. We hope this conversation sparks reflection and new ideas within your organization.